Well, welcome to our series for owners by owners. Our team here at Shop Controller really would like to add some more value to the automotive repair industry, and we feel um, we would be able to connect owners, shop managers, very important people in the industry, and experts together to share their expertise and their knowledge. And what better way for all of us to get ahead and make more money than all of us to get together and share our experiences and what got us into this business and how we're going to continue to make money. So my name is William Fairbanks. I'm Vice President of Sales with Shop Controller. Joining me today is Mike Kovaric, CEO of Shop Controller. Mike, how you doing this morning?
Oh, it's another beautiful day. Thanks, William.
I got Dan Carroll, Regional Vice President of Marketing with Shop Controller. Dan, how's things in your neck of the woods?
Absolutely awesome, William. And Grant, really appreciate meeting you and having you with us.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Good to be here.
And then our very, very, very special guest is Mr. Grant Jackson. He is currently shop manager with Cliff's Welding. So, Grant, we really appreciate you joining us today. And if you don't mind, we're just going to have a little conversation about your experience in the industry and how you're doing, how you got here, and just as importantly, what do you see for this industry in the future? Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. I'm ready for it.
All right, well, start out softball questions, man. Tell us a little bit about Cliff's Welding and how many bays you have, how many techs, employees, how long y'all been in business, those kind of things.
Yeah, so Cliffs Welding has been in business since 1964. Cliff was originally who started it back then, and it just started off like you guys haven't been here, but half of this showroom was actually the workplace. So we've expanded over the years. And then this place, actually, Larry Fitzgerald bought it back in '85, and it all started over a haircut, believe it or not. So that's how I got into the Fitzgerald family, and it's been in the family ever since. It's on the second generation now. So Scott Fitzgerald has been running it since 2000. And then he's kind of been on and off since 2020. And then I've been running it for him ever since. So 4 years in the industry as far as running this place for him. But yeah, that's pretty much where it started. Started off doing go-karts back in the day and just expanded and expanded. Trailer places started opening up near us. So we're like, we got to evolve, got to start doing trailer suspension, custom fabrication. And then that's when it started leading into the fifth wheels and goosenecks and pretty much anything framed down on trailers. So kind of do a little bit of everything around here.
Okay. Very
And
cool.
they are a busy shop. I've been there, brought the guys some pizza last year, and just full of trailers and vehicles and just jamming. So lots of work going on through that shop. Actually, probably one of the biggest shops that we have on our system today.
Very cool. Grant, doesn't make you feel good, right? That's awesome. Well, Grant, I know y'all are very specific when it comes to welding, and that gives you kind of a unique edge in the market. But just in general, compared to other shops, other businesses like yours, what makes Cliff's Welding a unique place? You know, why should customers come to Cliff's Welding, and when there's so many opportunities out there for other places?
So the thing that's pretty much kept this business alive is we don't do any sort of advertising. We very minimally post anything online. Our advertising is word of mouth. So just from customers that come here, and they pretty much do the advertising for us. So we cater to a lot of needs. A lot of times people come in saying, yeah, hey, I got to leave tomorrow and I got this problem. And majority of the time, like we'll squeeze them in however we can just to keep that reputation alive, because that's who we are. I mean, we try and cater to those needs because we understand the importance of getting back home to their families, whether it's in Canada or in the East Coast. Like, we understand that. A lot of shops don't take that into consideration. They got a full day's worth of work and they'll just brush them off for whatever reason. Here we tend to think of the customer a little bit more and try and treat them like more a family than anything else. And we understand that. So we try and cater to that and make it work for them.
Cool. So you say that customer experience, right? It's probably where you guys' uniqueness lies in.
Yes, yeah. And
Okay.
then all my guys too, like I got a technician that's been here for 35 years now. And
Wow.
then another guy who's going on 27. So the knowledge that my guys have when it comes to welding, if it's TIG, MIG, I even got a guy who brazes here. So we're pretty much a one-stop shop when it comes to all of that. So we can pretty much get whatever they need done relatively quick.
Yeah, that kind of experience, man. That you can't replicate that, man. So that's big.
Yeah, it seems like it's a very cool family environment is there as well. And you think
It
Grant treats those guys basically like brothers. You know?
Yeah,
So
That's
you treat your employees like you do your customers, right? It's all one big happy family. And I think a lot of businesses could learn that, like, a happy employee will make a happy customer as well. An unhappy employee can make a very, very unhappy customer. So
yeah, I don't put myself above them. I mean, I need them just as much as they need me. So everything goes hand in hand here. So I don't treat them like garbage or anything like that. I treat them as a person, and just increases the workflow, keeps the environment up, and the morale's good.
yeah, yeah.
what a great concept, Grant. And how did you come upon that process in your life?
How did I become like get in that process of that mindset of how this work environment is,
Yeah,
or
that
just
leadership.
so ever since I've been working since I was 14 years old in some sort of management role. And then baseball too, just holding accountability for yourself. I mean, it's only you, especially in this role. Like the owner here is not breathing down my neck because he understands that I take accountable for my actions. So it's whenever you're in the wrong, just admit it. There's no point in lying and trying to work your way around it. It's people are going to show more respect for being upfront and honest with you instead of, oh, I forgot to order this part or it never came in. There's no point in trying to extend the truth. Just own it up, own up to it, and move on. And I just feel like in every environment that I've been in, that's worked best for me. So there's no point in changing it now.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
Perfect. Keep it simple, right?
Yeah, just keep it simple. It's the best way to put it.
Throughout the last couple of years, what have you kind of seen as like your all's business like largest obstacle that you face? Is it labor? Is it getting the right technology in place? Is it perhaps getting more customers in? I know you talked about your your word of mouth business, so maybe you don't maybe it's getting less customers or the right customers. What do you see kind of that balance with what you guys are facing coming up?
It's a little bit of everything because I mean, especially when I first started in this role, COVID hit, so that took a huge impact on us. We closed our shop down for 5 weeks, and all my guys in the back, they're commission based. So if I don't have work, they're not getting paid. So when it came to COVID, shut down for 5 weeks, it was a little difficult. Trying to figure out how to make everything work, and then the transitioning and everything moving so fast after that. Just trying to keep up with all the pricing going up. So we had to up our labor rate because everything was going up at that time frame. So just crunching the numbers from 2018 and 2019 leading up into 2020, we had about a 78% increase on pretty much everything, whether it's parts, whether it's just traffic in our door. So just trying to get the flow of everything and making sure that we're staying on top was a huge eye opener to how this industry can be. Um, Now, as far as the technology side, I mean, we definitely need an upgrade on the process that we got, which I know we are in the works of. And there's been great communication between our shop and shop controller, full transparency. So, I mean, I'm excited for what this new system's going to bring. And I'm just hoping that it's going to be faster than what I got now. Because, I mean, that alone is going to help increase our just turnover rate with the customers, getting more people in, more people out, just an easy transition. So I'm looking forward to it.
Got you. Yeah, time is money, correct?
Yeah,
All of
yeah,
us.
that's for sure.
So one thing that we all have in common, man, is our time is worth something to us. So Grant, we're gonna wave our magic wand, and I'm gonna tell you, money is not an option. And Grant Jackson gets to go open his own shop starting tomorrow, where does Grant start? What's Grant's vision? What would Grant do differently starting his own shop than what you're doing today at Chris Welding?
Well, I would open up a shop in Florida.
Okay.
So instead of the dry heat, you want some humid heat. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so Arizona is the second biggest state for snowbirds. Florida is the number one state in the U.S. So for the industry that we do, for the industry that we do, we would get more boat trailers out in Florida. We would still get the same fifth wheels, the travel trailers, pretty much everything that we do here, but on an increased volume out in Florida. So this has already been a thought in my mind for years. And I've even pitched it to the owner, but he doesn't want someone going out to Florida and running it for him. So, but that would be the first place that I would go to is Florida, somewhere just alongside like Pensacola area somewhere, and starting up this and do pretty much the same thing. I see a great opportunity out there with all the trailers and boats and everything that's out there. That's what I would do.
Nice. Okay. So Grant, maybe think back to 2019 when you're jumping into this role, right? You're going to manage a big shop, multi-million-dollar a year shop, multiple technicians, tons of customers, multiple bays. What would be some of the coaching that you would give your past self now that, hey, you're, 5+ years into this? What would you want to tell yourself if you could?
Back in 2019, just to give you a little bit of backstory, I was not even properly trained for this role. So to give you a little bit of backstory without going into too many details, this is a family-owned business. Scott's son was the gentleman that was supposed to be running it, and he was dealing with some inner demons that he couldn't handle, and he was never here, is just to sum it up. So I was the next in line, if you want to call it that. I was here, I think 5 years at the time, 4 years, something like that. And I just went into it. I mean, everyone just came to me, so it was naturally people would just cater to me. Going back and thinking about it, I would not try and overwhelm myself because that was huge back in that time frame. I tried fixing things that I really didn't know how to fix and not asking the right questions and just trying to put the glue back on and get it to stick together. Now that I've had a couple years, just take it one by one. I'm only one person. I got multiple problems going on, figure out which one's the worst problem, fix that, and then distribute what I can to make it easier on everybody and just take it one step at a time. That's the biggest thing in this leadership role, is distributing the work evenly on who can do it, and then taking on the biggest challenge for yourself to make sure that it gets done right.
Nice. Yeah, nice. I think being in that blessed position to where you understand the players, right, that are in the team, that you can work with, and kind of understanding their skill sets to help make sure that they're getting jobs and work that fit what they're capable of doing, probably gave you a big leg up and getting into that role. That's for sure. Like knowing your team, really.
Yeah.
Finding what people are good at and then letting them go flourish. That is a very big key to success, in my opinion. I think all of us at some point in time in our lives probably spent too much time either coaching somebody to be better at something or trying to make ourselves be better at something that we're not good at. And it's so hard. Not saying that we shouldn't get better, but it's so much easier to focus on what you're good at and go figure out how to make that the most important thing to you and use that time wisely. Right, Grant?
Yeah, because I mean, even coaching that 13U baseball, I mean, that's all we're doing is improving what we're not good at. So it's trying to separate that too with, adults that are work here that already know what they're good at. So I spend more time training these guys to understand these new things, which everything is changing here. So I probably spend a little bit too much time trying to get them to understand the new stuff, but it's got to happen eventually. So it's just learning it and growing it. So
yep. You got to move with the progress. So Grant, earlier in the conversation, you kind of talked about COVID and kind of like the economic impact that had had on your all's business. And I mean, I don't know in your opinion if that's evened out or not, but what advice would you give today to somebody that was just getting into the business or thinking about getting into the business, really more focused on the economic climate, right? We are, I wouldn't say unprecedented times, but we are, seeing kind of a not a very stable market. Everybody has a different opinion about where the economy is going. People say it's getting ready to soft land. Some people say we're still trucking on. People are spending money. There doesn't seem to be any stop in that spending money. So, what kind of advice would you give somebody, around that and trying to stay even keel during these kind of challenging economic times?
You know, you got to have an accountant who's like a hunter, essentially, making sure that they're on top of paying the bills that need to be paid 30 days out. And then it's also the resources that you have. Even though you could get something from somewhere, you may be able to find it online for cheaper. I mean, I got distributors all across locally, and my cost is, let's say, $100, but I can get it off of Amazon, for instance, for $60. I mean, yeah, just because you can get it a day earlier, but you're booking out a week and you could get it in within that week online, like you're gaining an additional $40 in profit. I mean, you got to just take those resources. They're so important. I mean, if you can save money somewhere, I mean, do it, save it, especially when it comes to ordering stuff in, because you never know these days on what the market's going to be. That part may increase overnight. You just never know. So accounting is super important, making sure that you're on top of the books, making sure that all these bills are getting paid and not just sitting there, and then just knowing your resources on top of that.
Yeah. Maybe
How
just
how?
drill. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, William.
No, go ahead, Mike. Absolutely.
I was just gonna say, just drilling into the P&L and the finances a little bit. I'm sure that had to be a major change from you. Going from being one of the technicians, one of the guys on the team, to being responsible for the numbers. Maybe
It
give us
wasn't
some kind of learnings for somebody that's getting into that role. How do you teach them into, like, what's most important thing for them to spend some time on?
Honestly, like, it was such an easy transition for me because before this, and before that job, I was actually an assistant manager for a pizza place. And so I would take an account. We had to measure out like the per pound for cheese to know exactly what it was per pound. So that just came natural to me moving into this role, figuring out exactly where the money's going, and it just came natural to me.
Okay.
But going into this role, I even asked the owner, like, what was the daily expense or the daily profit that we needed to keep our doors open? And he ran this place for 20 years and he had no clue. I was like, dude, I need to know that number to make sure that we're still making money. So, and then of course I asked the question. So he wanted me to figure it out, and I ended up coming down to the penny essentially. And so that's the most important thing to me, at least, is knowing the day-to-day operations, how much we need to make per day to make sure that we're making money. And that was so important to me. And then once the owner found that out, he realized there were days that we didn't make any money. And now that I'm in charge of it, there's days where we're spending more money just keeping the lights on. So it's, what do we need to change to make that and progress, and what's causing that to happen, and see what we can do.
Yeah, that makes great sense. And Grant, I'm going to assume that your team really has some unique skills, right? It's not just getting anybody off the street that can do the work that your team does, right? And
Yeah.
you mentioned technology early on in our conversation, and I think you said that you're hoping that it will work faster, right? Meaning it would give you some advantages. Is the ability to keep your teammates doing the actual work on the projects the most important payoff that technology can give you, keeping them freed up to do what they do best?
Yes. Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So a solution for you has to include some way to make them either more efficient or less tied up, whether it's entering information or recovering information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it completely does. When you guys told me about the new shock controller where we can upload images onto the actual ticket and I can print them off, I was so excited for that, because that's just going to be a huge transition from the front to the back with my technicians. as far as showing them actually what's going on instead of pulling them out, walking out front, and then having them look at it. So that alone is going to save time. So I'm expecting about a 40% increase in work just by that alone.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, kind of staying along the line that William was talking about, if you were giving advice to another company that was either getting into it or building their business, as it regards technology versus the skill sets of your team, what advice would you give them to focus on?
That's a really good question. Um, I mean, honestly, it's just one. I don't know how to answer that question. You're stumping me here.
Oh, didn't mean to stump you. It looks like you're figuring it out, quite honestly. Just finding that solution, I imagine, that is both customer friendly, but that keeps your team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's crucial. I mean, technology has taken over the world. So it's if you can find any sort of resource, whether it's through technology and then relate it to the work, it's going to be beneficial for you regardless of what it is. So just the communication that the cloud brings, whether it's with the platform to translate it to the technicians in the back, I mean, it's going to be a huge success because you're going to save time.
Yeah, makes great sense.
So take the technology and invest in the technology when you see that it's beneficial to your businesses. I think kind
Oh
of like
yeah.
to sum that up, Grant, right?
Well, 100%. I mean, when I went into this role, all of our equipment was like 20 years old. So it's at a snail's pace. So, I mean, just with messing around with the shop controller, it's night and day difference. So,
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Kind of
absolutely.
continuing with the labor and the workforce that you bring on, as far as finding that great talent, how much do you kind of dig into what they've used in the past versus just how much they know about welding and fixing cars? You know, does the technology come into play, or is it more of like, hey, I need you to be able to do these certain things to these certain hitches, and you know, what does that work experience look like, or how do you kind of measure, you know, what you're looking for?
so it varies. I mean, I started here with zero experience in this field. So, growing with the owner at the time, and he was such a great teacher on both sides for in the back and up here, I was able to transition pretty well. But when it comes to the labor force, I pretty much just look for a mechanic. Everything that we do can be taught. We can show you how it's done and how it's the close welding way. And with all the experience that we got, my average experience in the back is I think 18 years right now. So it's having that knowledge, and it's super easy to train someone that's willing to learn. And that's the biggest thing is finding people that are willing to learn a different trade. If you've been a mechanic, you can do this type of work. It's very transparent when it comes to it.
Do you have any problems at all, Grant, finding additional labor for your growth?
Well, right now I am at full capacity. I got 6 bays and I have 9 technicians right now working at the shop. I got one welder fabricator, and then I all my other bays are taken up with workers. So luckily we got a low turnover rate, so it's very nice. Hardly a problem I have to deal with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when you've got that kind of longevity and experience and talent, I imagine that most of the folks you're getting in, are they younger than your existing team, or are they seasoned veterans that are just coming because you have a better culture?
I got a mixture of both. I got 3 of my technicians that are in their early to late 20s,
Okay.
and then the other two, they are in their late 30s, early 40s. So, but those two have been here for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So they know the ways. I know when these younger guys come in, they're more than willing to teach them. So, and that's a huge help for me. So I don't have to explain everything and get pulled away from teaching the guys up front. So everything is hand in hand. So it's a super easy transition here. It's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. One last question for me, Grant. Really, as we go, and I get the ability to travel across the United States, and I met so many wonderful shop owners. it always seems like the biggest kind of obstacle they have personally is how much does a person in a leadership position at at a shop like yours spend working in the business versus on the business? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like how much time should somebody like you spend actually, busting knuckles with your guys versus, trying to make sure that the books are right or finding that new avenue for business or figuring out what the right technology is to make your business better. Does that make sense? Like how often do you have to kind of reset yourself and work on that balance or do you already have that kind of figured out?
Well, yes and no, because I feel when you're in this role, I feel like you're never off the clock. I feel like you come across something and it always intrigues you, and then you always want to see if it's going to benefit your business. Whether you're sitting on your phone at home and you see something like, like I got to kind of think about this. Is this really going to help my business? And I feel like you're never off, but you still need that balance. And I try and reset pretty much every night, as whatever happened today, that's just today. I can't transition that into the following day and then bring it into work the next day and then create a negative work environment if the day before was just hit the fan.
Yeah.
You never know what the
Right.
next day is going to bring. So you got to reset every night and keep that positive energy in the industry, because everyone's going to look up to you as a role model, essentially. So if you're down in the dumps and having a very poor attitude, everyone else is going to be that way, and then it becomes a hostile work environment. So you got to reset every night, whether it's going out for a walk with your wife or whatever it may bring, just to bring that reset back and come in and have a positive energy.
Yeah, Grant, those are such wise words. And I think, from my perspective, kind of capturing what you said, I'm going to guess that within your industry, the tenure that you have is probably not the norm. My guess is that they probably experience more turnover. So there's something that you're doing intentionally at your shop, building your culture that is growing your business and your people in a way that they want to continue to be part of that team. And it seems to me like, if I'm reading you correctly, you've got some really good dynamics working there between your people, supporting the newer people themselves, as well as your input. And now, how can you bring even more of their time? Like you said, maybe that 40% number is a real number for you, so that they can do more of what they do every day in less of some of these things that technology can solve. Is that a fair capture for you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't happen by accident. So you're doing some things really well.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. Mike, anything else for Grant?
No, man, I love this. Just
Yeah.
blessed to be working with you and having you a part of the Shop Controller family. So, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for working with us, and thanks for sharing your wisdom today.
Yeah,
Appreciate you,
Grant, I
buddy.
really appreciate it, man. Yeah,
Thanks
virtual
for
high
having me.
fives.
Great to meet you, Grant. Be well.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, you too.